This is why the church in its beauty is so critical in the process of nurturing broken hearts, accepting the outcast, and running after the prodigal. This is outside of the church walls. Now, the church and the community in which we come to dwell on Sunday mornings is so important too, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about going after the one and leaving the 99 and being willing to do that, even if it risks your ego, even if your friends might be like, you're not the cool kid playing spin the bottle anymore because you're hanging out with the girl, the Christian, the clean, the goody two shoes. I wasn't even in my faith at that point, but the goody two shoes in the kitchen, right? Be willing to stick your neck out for people and find out what the reciprocity looks like. And at the end of the day, even if you don't receive something in the natural, which isn't the point of doing anything, then you have to know in the goodness and kindness of your heart, there should be peace on the other end because fruit bears out of that. Are you willing to long suffer with your friends? Now, that story that I told you about at high school, a lot has evolved since then. My leaders at that point also were a part of that people hurt, which is new language I'm going to adopt because a lot of people are calling it church hurt, myself included, for years. And I've realized that extenuating that conversation around church hurt is allowing people who are not in the church to perceive, gosh, those people are crazy. They're constantly hurting each other. I'm not going to church. When that's not, we know this, and anybody who says this, I hope understands, it's not church hurt. It's not God hurt even. It's people hurt. It's imperfect man, just like Job's friends who are literally projecting hurt. They're hurting him. He's in agony. He's like, why are you talking to me like this? Why are you not listening to me? I have not sinned against God. I'm still the same man. I'm still the same upright, blameless man that I was before. And even if he did have a misstep, which was, again, ownership over my situation, even if he did, now, like pushing him again, it's like he just fell into the muddy pit. And as a friend, you should be extending the hand, which is what they did. They did come towards him to spend time. They did spend 7 days grieving with him until they started processing, like, what's going on? This can't possibly be right. And they started their own stories. They even said, the Spirit told me. Now, I haven't gotten to the other chapters to be able to unpack that a little bit more. I read the Bible last year, but I just want to be like fully immersed into it. How many people do you hear say, God led me, or the Spirit led me, or I'm hearing in my spirit right now? We have to be so sharp with our mouths, especially as friends to someone who is in a muddy situation, that we don't knock them back into the mud, knock them back into the mire, and we don't start pointing our fingers at a situation we don't know the full context to. And you might have lived and walked out something so similar, you still don't know the full context because you don't know the goblins. God was protecting Job in that time. God allowed Satan and his plan to fall through his fingers with intention so that he would still get the glory. And he knew on the other end there was going to be multiplicity because he walked through it, and he's going to do it in the fullness of who he is as a son of God because he knows the truth. So I encourage us as friends to be more steadfast in our words, to realize that our presence, his presence through us, is so powerful. And had I not been alone and been invited in to the dark, I really believe that the way in which my life really manufactured itself afterwards and the choices that I made there afterwards would have been so much different if I had somebody coming after me. So the leaders in that group who allowed me to simply just be astray, years later, 2 decades later, have come back and shared with me where they were walking in that season. And for 20 years, I had projected my own story onto why they didn't show up for me. And so much so that it's even in my book. And I, again, know that it's not church hurt. It was people hurt. And I was hurt by people. And yet, it just allowed me to become more mature in my understanding that people are people. And just like I tell my kiddos right now, if their teacher's having a bad day, if someone was mean to them, if there's a bully, We unpack what could maybe be going on in their life that they felt like okay or proud or brave enough to say something like that to you. And oftentimes it checks our empathy. It checks our radar to how do we be a good friend in response? How do we be kind even when someone's not kind to us? How do we turn the other cheek? And ultimately it comes back to our identity. It's knowing who God is. How do I be a better friend to God? I know God because he's the ultimate friend. And therefore now I start to emulate him.